and welcome to Movie Wars. Wait, this isn't Movie Warzone. This is Movie Battleground. What? Why did they let me here? I don't know. I'm here. All right, we've got a really good match. We got Henry going up against RJ. I think that's going to be really fun. But before we go to our competitors, I want to go to my two esteemed judges who will be judging with me. I know these people, and they judge me pretty harshly, so hopefully they'll do good here. First up, Malcolm. Malcolm, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, but just ready to watch this match go down.
Yeah, definitely. And someone who I've known for quite a while in these trivia leagues and stuff. It's Richard. How are you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to seeing these two yell at each other and tell them why they're wrong. So, it's going to be fun.
Yes, it is. So now, without further ado, let's go over to our two competitors to see how they're feeling about this match. RJ, how are you feeling?
I mean, I keep winning these things, even though I'm really not that good at debating. So I keep having to play these matches. So I don't know. Anything can happen today. I'm not really going in with any expectations other than I'm just going to say how I feel.
Fair. Just, go in and be ready. And Henry.
This is my first debate in a while. Ever since Battleground decided to do their revamp and their whole new structure, I wasn't a fan of how it was run before. I decided to take a break. I came back and I told them, I was like, hey, if you guys mix it up and do things differently, then I'll be in it. I'll be in it to win it. And guess what? I'm here. So congratulations to them for doing a good job. And I'm ready to face RJ again because he's a good buddy of mine and I want him to kick my ass.
So in the words of Henry, every success that Movie Battleground currently has is solely because of him. I believe that's what I just got from that statement. But seriously, without further ado, let's just jump right into it, into this first question, which is, with Game of Thrones coming to an end, what TV series would best work as a movie? We're going to start with Henry on this one. So you have 1 minute and 30 seconds for your opening statement. And Malcolm, I believe you are keeping the time. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So Henry, start when you're ready. The clock starts when you start talking.
All right, so my choice today is something a little out of the box, not necessarily because of my pick itself, but because of the genre. I'm going with a comedy series, and I'm going with this series because it had a season within the last year or two, and that was its first season in like a couple years, and it showed that it can take a break and then still come back and still be successful. I'm talking about Curb Your Enthusiasm, written and starring Larry David. He's also the writer of Seinfeld, so he shows that he has a lot of chops with the comedy aspect, and I have a story in line that I want to talk about, but I'm going to save that for later. But the reason I'm going with the comedy is shows that, when you go with big and bold, sometimes that's going to be a little too much because usually comedy series aren't used to having the budget for a movie, so they might go a little out of their element and overdo it, and it might not be as good. So I want to stay strong with the characters and the story, and most importantly, the comedy.
Okay, good. RJ, send to you. You get minute 30. Time starts when you start talking.
So it took me a while to think about this just because we had so many options because it said it could have been a show that was over, a show that's still running, maybe coming to the end. But I picked a show that is still fairly recently new and is actually, I think, picking up a lot of steam, especially for the kind of show that it is. And I'm going to go with The Orville, Seth MacFarlane's new Star Trek-esque show. I think he's doing a fantastic job with it. He's doing great storytelling, not his usual stuff with the overdoing it on the comedy aspect, like really focusing on these stories, these great deep stories that make a lot of social commentary, but still throwing his little bits of humor in there. And I think that with the story he's developed now, he has so many options to just throw them into a movie aspect. He's already doing this 40-minute show. So I would definitely much like to see like him try to do something with this. I think it would make a great movie.
Okay, good. Both really strong opening arguments. We've got Curb Your Enthusiasm going up against The Orville. So now it is time for our back and forth kind of dialogue, debate, free form style. You get 5 minutes to kind of discuss your debates back and forth. So yeah, time starts when one of you starts talking.
So the reason I'm going with Curb Your Enthusiasm because it shows that Larry David is a very strong leading character, and you can go anywhere with a comedy story. And I'm going to take Larry David out of his element of Hollywood, and I'm going to send him to either like Las Vegas or Paris or Italy, somewhere out of the States. And we're going to go on a vacation, and it's going to get together all of his friends. And you can even treat it like kind of like an Adam Sandler movie where it's just like him and his friends go together. And I'm not saying in the aspects of the tone of an Adam Sandler movie, but I'm just saying like people joke about Adam Sandler movies like, oh, he's just going on vacation with his friends, but the story is not that good. So let's do the same thing so they have fun, but also have a great story with him and his friends, Jeff Garland. You have Ted Danson, you have his wife Cheryl Hines, you have in his ex-wife in the show Cheryl Hines. So you have all these characters and these actors that are going to work well together, great chemistry, and they're going to have a lot of fun. And I'm going to go more. So, RJ.
Yeah, I mean, I feel you on that. I get they have good chemistry, but honestly, there was another show with good chemistry that had a lot of like real life in the real world, like mockumentary style thing. That was Entourage. They did a movie. It did not work. And I'm sorry, but I don't think Curb Your Enthusiasm can hold a movie together. It was a great 1 hour program, but they have nowhere to go over an hour. There's nothing they can do. It's just going to be rehash of everything they did, just like Entourage when they did it. And I love Entourage, and they failed miserably with that movie and trying to make it into something really big. Whereas where I see with the Orville, he's already set up so many storylines that he can make one big action-packed adventure. With the budget he could get, he could do so much more because he has proven in that show that he can put on a space battle, really deep conversations between things. I mean, hell, he has a freaking AI alien dealing with its ideas of what humanity is. And it was deep. It was dark. It was crazy. He has dealt with some crazy stuff. And I think if he got the chance to take that into movie format, he would do a hell of a job. A lot of people don't want to give him credit because he's made a couple of movies and they haven't been too great, but they were very comedy focused. I think if he takes this, which you could tell he's really passionate about, that he's going to make something really great.
See, the thing with Orville though is it's going to be hard. It's such a niche topic because it's about space adventures and all that stuff. And you're either going to have Star Wars or you're going to have Star Trek or you're going to have Galaxy Quest. Three fan bases that are very strong in there. So if you're trying to get new fan bases, it's going to really be hard for them to be sold on. You're like, oh, why would I go watch this new thing when I can go watch something that already exists? And if you look at the ratings for the show, the ratings are okay at like the beginning and then they tier downwards. Towards the second season, it had its highest ratings for the first episode, but that was because it was on Sunday, the same day as a football. And then for the rest of the days, it teetered down. It averaged out to about the same throughout the rest of the season for an average ratings. So it just shows that the fan base is not that strong for a show that's actually developed in its own story, where if you're putting it in a movie, you're trying to sell it to the general public, and it's just going to be a hard sell. Whereas Curb Your Enthusiasm, it's a comedy. You can get comedies left and right out of anything, and you can put people in seats because people are like, oh, it's an R-rated comedy, let's go watch it. Oh, it's Larry David, the writer of Seinfeld, that's going to sell itself.
Good lately. An R-rated comedy isn't going to get you in the seat anymore. R-rated comedies have not done good in the past couple of years.
Last year you got Game Night, you had Blockers, two of the biggest comedies in the last decade.
Is going to be able to put people in the seats. Just because the show has good ratings does not mean it's going to transfer over to a movie screen thing. People might be like, why is Curb Your Enthusiasm making a movie? I'm not going to go see that. People have every inclination to just not do something because they want to stay at the purity of its TV. Like I said, most people nowadays, they want to go see a great story with great depth, maybe even a little bit of action, and the Orville has all the ingredients to do that. When Curb Your Enthusiasm, it's just going to be a longer episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
See, the thing with the Orville, though, like I said earlier in my opening statement, when you give somebody a budget, they're not going to be able to handle it. Other than this show, Seth MacFarlane's never had the budget to really go, and he's going to go over and out. He's going to take away from the story, and it's going to really affect the overall product that he's trying to push out. And also
you're assuming he's going to go over the top with the budget. That's an assumption.
Similar to what you said with Curb Your Enthusiasm and Entourage, where it's an assumption that it just because it's something like that's been done before, it's going to happen. So I'm just giving you the facts of kind of the history. So if you want to hit me, on mine, I know, but if you want to hit me on mine, I'm gonna hit you back on yours.
Whereas you have no basis to show that Seth MacFarlane is going to overdo it. There's no basis to show that. Where I showed you Entourage because that is an HBO comedy series that took what it did.
Okay, if you want to talk about something with Seth MacFarlane specific,
I have something to compare it to You don't have anything to compare with that saying, oh, Seth MacFarlane is definitely going to take this budget and go over the top with it.
We got your point. So if you want to talk about something Seth MacFarlane specific, his worst movie in entirety, without exaggeration, is A Million Ways to Die in the West. A movie with, he got more ability to do exactly what he wants. Yeah, like I said, it's a niche thing. Some people might like it.
So, yes. So now it's time to go into our closing. Very good, very heated, back and forth. But now time to go into our closing. You get a minute each. So since we started with Henry, we're gonna start with RJ this time. So RJ, you got a minute. Time starts when you start talking.
Look, I get that this show doesn't have the ratings. It has Seth MacFarlane in it, who has not done well in the movies. But I think this project, which he shows his passion in, and he doesn't hide the fact that it's a very Star Trek-esque thing. I think given the time, given the budget, he can make a great movie that not necessarily will blow up, but I think he would give us a great movie that's going to get people in the seats and something people want to watch. And that's really what it comes down to. And I just think Curb Your Enthusiasm is going to be, okay, we're going to rehash the show, extend the episode, and that's all it's going to be. I don't see any other way he can make a movie out of it other than just extending one of his episodes. So that's it.
Okay, good. Henry, minute starts when you start talking.
All right, so I'm going to start off by saying all the things that I'm saying now I would have said in the regular battle if I knew we had less time, so I don't want it to seem cheap. But Curb Your Enthusiasm has 43 Emmy nominations, so it's shown that it's a well-known product. The Orville, I'm not going to diss it for not having Emmy nominations, but when you look at the title, a movie by Seth MacFarlane, and you see that it looks like a Star Trek, you're going to think of it's a parody, and you're not going to take it as seriously. So that's already not going to get the butts in the seat. You're going to say, oh, it's a ripoff of Star Trek, or it's a Galaxy Quest remake in a sense. So people are really going to take it out. Whereas Curb Your Enthusiasm, like I said, you have Larry David. He's going to go on vacation with his friends. He's going to have the peril. He's going to probably have some of his antics where he, acts up and he's on vacation. Everything's about himself. His friends are going to look down and be like, oh, you're not really, showing us the support and the love that we've been showing you for these years. So we're going to really knock you for that. So it's really going to have some internal struggle on that. It's going to have some drama. It's going to have a lot of comedy. And you say it's going to be a longer episode, a longer version of the series. But what's the problem with that? It's a well-acclaimed series for over 10 years or so. It's, like I said, 43 Emmy nominations. Larry David's a prize. So if you're going to pick something that's going to be favorable and more memorable and more lovable, going with Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Just on time.
Okay, good arguments from both competitors here. So now I'm going to go over to my judges so that we can make a decision. Richard, I'm going to throw you in there first. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
It was a good start from both. Both gave valid arguments of why their show would work as a movie. I'm giving my point to Henry because his argument that Seth MacFarlane, hasn't made wouldn't be able to handle the budget for a movie like he did with How to Train Your West. RJ kind of admitted that he hasn't done too well when it comes to movies, and though RJ did hit the fact that Entourage didn't do as well, similar show. However, Curb Your Enthusiasm is not the same as Entourage, and my point is going to Henry.
Okay, good. Malcolm, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is definitely an interesting one because on paper, I do think one of them would work better than the other, but that's not about what I think on what worked better. It's how they argumented. I feel that Henry managed to knock the Orville quite a bit because the Orville, he brought up that the Orville is getting declining ratings and all that. I think RJ, he did a good job of knocking down Curb Your Enthusiasm, but I think Henry did a better job of kind of knocking down the Orville. So my point's going to Henry as well.
Okay, so Henry does get the point on that one. And we are going in to our second question, which is, what movie that has been released this year would have the best chance of being nominated for Best Picture? So since we started with Henry last time, we're going to start with RJ this time. RJ, you have a minute 30 to give your opening arguments. Time starts when you start talking.
Yeah, so when it really came to this question, I mean, it's hard because it's only April, so not so many movies has come out, especially because most people consider that Oscar contenders will come out later in the year. But honestly, I went with my gut. I just recently saw this movie, and I mean, it's crushing it out there. It's breaking records left and right, and I just think it's something that's going to be undeniable that it should just finally break the mold and let a comic book movie win Best Picture, and I'm going to go with Avengers Endgame. I mean, it's a greatly made movie. It honestly really puts a nice cap on this 22 movie franchise that they've been building since 2008. And I think the Academy is just ready to finally recognize it as like, this was a great made movie. The directors did a great job. The producers, the team, the actors have all done a great job. This film deserves to be recognized as the best picture of the year.
Okay, Henry, same to you. Minute 30. Time starts when you start talking.
So similar to what RJ said, this year's tough because it's the beginning of the year. You know, it's the middle. It's actually May. Don't want to date us too much and make people think that we're recording this in April. It's actually May. But yeah, there's not much to choose from. But I'm also going with my gut, and I'm going with a movie released by a director that his previous film got nominated, and it came out even earlier in the year. And I'm going with Jordan Peele's Us. And this film, it is maybe from the horror genre, and the horror genre doesn't get represented enough in the Best Picture nominations. But I do have plenty of evidence to support that why it could still make it, and I'm gonna knock Endgame as well. So yeah, Us first Endgame.
Okay, we've got Us going up against Endgame here. So you've got the back and forth round dialogue. So you get 5 minutes. You guys know the drill. Time starts when one of you starts talking.
So the thing with Avengers Endgame is, unfortunately, the comic book genre does not get represented enough in the Best Pictures. It just got its very first nomination before last year with Black Panther. But if you look at Black Panther, you look at its cultural significance, and you look at Avengers Endgame, it's just a blockbuster movie, and that's unfortunately not going to be represented in the Oscars. Where you look at Us with Get Out, not only is it a horror film, which does have a little more representation in the Best Pictures, but it also is directed by Jordan Peele, who's shown that not only is he a fantastic screenwriter and he gets represented there, but his movie does as well as it did with Get Out. And this movie, it has the cultural significance. It also has the the environmental impacts and the world building elements to it as well. That shows that it's very relevant in the time and it's going to hold up. Unlike Endgame, when if you look at some stuff, it might not hold up as well in the as time comes.
I mean, the way you're saying it about there, the cultural impact, what are you talking about? This movie just ended a 11-year, 22 film series, just ended it. How is that not a cultural impact? It's never been done before, never even been attempted. And they are doing it in style. They are killing it out there. This movie is so beautifully made. The effects are amazing. The score is fantastic. The actors are at their best. Every single actor in there is at their best. I mean, and you talk about Us. I mean, Us is just another Jordan Peele horror movie. I mean, it's nowhere near the cultural impact that freaking God, I don't even remember what the other one. Get Out? Yeah, Get Out. Sorry. I don't know. I thought I was about to say Get Hard, and that's a whole other movie in general. But I mean, Get Out, yeah, it had a lot to say, but Avengers Endgame has a lot to say. Us, it didn't really have as much to say as Get Out. It hasn't been talked about as much as Get Out. Like, yeah, was it a well-made movie? Yeah, but I don't think it's in the Oscar contention that Get Out was. It does not send the same message as Get Out did. I don't think it has anything to say, really. It's just another good horror film.
See, your
argument is purely based on the fact that Jordan Peele won last year, so Jordan Peele got nominated last year, so he's gonna get nominated again. That's not always necessarily the case.
See, you got to look. See, here's your misunderstanding of the Oscars. A lot of times when the formula how it goes, that's how it goes. And the question is, what is more likely to get nominated? And that's what I'm going. And you say that Endgame encapsulates the series and ends the series, but guess what? It doesn't. We're gonna have another movie in the MCU just in 3 months after this is released, plus more movies that are being announced. So it would be one thing if it actually ended the franchise, like Return of the King for Lord of the Rings, and that's why it got nominated. But guess what? Endgame does not actually end the series of the MCU. There's going to be a lot of more movies with a lot of the same characters. Maybe if it was a fresh start and you had a lot of new characters or all new characters, then maybe I would buy that. But you have a lot of the same characters rolling over that's going to continue in the MCU. When you have us, like I said, it's kind of cultural significant. It shows of how you handle yourself within. It had governmental experiments, which ultimately metaphorically talked about what's your mirror image of yourself and how you handle that and everything. So it really has that cultural impact there. And it also shows that Jordan Peele, he's a great writer and great director, and he's going to get nominated.
We're not talking about Get Out. I mean, people were not talking about us the way they were talking about Get Out. Everyone's still talking about Avengers Endgame. So if you're going on just it gets people talking, Avengers Endgame got people talking. And you may say that, like, you know, about that, you know, the Academy, it is what it is. They can't deny the cultural impact that this movie is having on people. The cultural impact it is. Yeah, it may not be the complete end of it, but they ended this whole saga of it. They put to bed what these 22 movies so far have started building. And they're going to start again now with the other movies that are coming out. And you say, like, it's the same people. Yes, but the main people are gone. Like, the main people who held that franchise together are gone. They got their ending.
Three at most. Three at most. So when you look at the horror genre, just versus the comic book genre, you have movies like The Exorcist, Jaws, Silence of the Lambs, Sixth Sense, Black Swan, Get Out. These are movies that are similar to Us in style, where it's not jump scares, it's not gore. I mean, there's some gore and violence in Us, but there's gore and violence in, like, The Exorcist. Out of all these, arguably the best movie out of all the horror films that have been nominated, The Exorcist is the most violent and gory, so it's similar to Us. You can't knock it for that. And then you have even with Black Panther that got nominated last year, its only non-technical nomination was the Best Picture. It didn't get any actors or any cinematography, any script, stuff like that. So it just shows that the cultural aspect of Black Panther is the only reason that the comic book genre jumped into that.
That was last year. This is an entirely new year. You can't just go
exactly
based on the past year. There's always chances.
Unfortunately, when you look at the Oscars, you got to look at the past years and the set and the settings that it goes through. Unfortunately, Endgame doesn't do enough to separate itself from Infinity War or the MCU as a whole. So comic book, it just doesn't stand out much.
Okay, good argument back and forth. Now we're going to go into our closing. So we started with RJ. So Henry, time for your 1 minute closing. Time starts when you start talking.
So like I said before, the superhero genre just doesn't get represented enough. You have, major nominations from The Dark Knight because it got Heath Ledger nominated. You had Logan, it got Best Screenplay, but even that didn't get Best Picture, and those are the most acclaimed movies. Endgame doesn't have that. It's a technical marvel with that, so it's going to get, no pun intended, so it's going to get technical awards and maybe Robert Downey Jr. just for a career award, but Endgame, unfortunately, is just not going to get the Best Picture award, whereas Us, it has Jordan Peele at the helm, so when you look at a lot of the Best Picture, look at Steven Spielberg early in his career, a lot of his movies got nominated. Look at M. Night Shyamalan when he first started, they're like, oh, we're just going to start giving him awards and recognition just for what he's done, how hot he is in his career. So that's exactly what's going to happen with Us. Like I said, it shows that we're able to represent, or they're able to represent African Americans with their leads. You're going to have a nice story, and it's not going to be quote unquote a black film. It's just a story that is helmed by African Americans. It is very cultural impactful because it told a story, it told exactly what it wanted to do, but it wasn't satirical. It wasn't stereotypical. It's a great film on its own, and it of course has the background of Jordan Peele behind it. It has everything. Okay,
RJ, 1 minute. Time starts when you start talking.
You're relying too much on the fact that the Oscars don't change, and you're relying too much on the fact that Jordan Peele got a nomination last year, so he's going to get it this year. Everything you just said, you're literally saying Us is going to get nominated because Get Out got nominated. That's literally your entire argument. What I'm just saying is that Avengers Endgame, whereas it not be, though, was social things that you say the other one made, it is a cultural impact. I think it is time for the Academy to recognize it, and I think this is the movie they want to do it with, because they can't deny that the actors put on the best performances of their careers in this film throughout this series. The directors did a fantastic job with all the characters they had to do. And yes, all the technical stuff is great, but all that together is what makes it a great movie. And we're not talking, we're just talking about this amazing picture. Like, people are going to be talking about Avengers Game forever. Us is going to fall to the wayside because Get Out was the one that won it. Jordan Peele, I'm sorry, lightning doesn't strike twice. It's not going to get it again.
And talk.
Okay, really good argument. So now I'm going to go over to my judges to see who gets the point on this one. Malcolm, I'm going to go to you first. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is tough because everyone brought up some really great points on this. I was leaning sort of on one side for most of the argument, but then I swayed very heavily the other way in the closing arguments. And I'm giving my point to RJ because, like, Henry kind of had me during the main round, but what RJ was saying that sometimes the Oscars can change and that you never really know anymore because no one would have picked Black Panther would have been nominated, really. But it's just yeah. So my point goes to RJ.
Okay, fair. I'm gonna go over to myself now for my thoughts. I'm actually gonna give my point to Henry here. I think Henry kind of deflected all of RJ's arguments, saying that the Oscars do have a lot of patterns and that there's a lot of stuff that like you can predict quite a bit of the time. And so I do think Henry gets the point there. So Richard, it's up to you. You're the tiebreaker here. What are your thoughts?
You say, I was leaning towards Henry to the whole match until it came to RJ's closing. RJ's closing, the fact that he said whatever, all the information that Henry brought up could also hit him exactly from his own movie. And that's why my point's going to RJ. Because his last closing statement, the fact that he said that like basically everything that Henry was saying, it goes against his movie as well. And he also brought up that Avengers Endgame did do something that's never been done, and that everyone is still talking about it. We'll still be talking about this movie for a while, and that I think the Oscars are going to take notice this time around. So my point's going to RJ.
Okay. So RJ does get the point there. So it is 1-1. So we will be going into our speed round. But with that, we're going to get into our third question, which is what actor deserves a resurgence? So Henry, you get 1 minute, 30 seconds for your opening argument. Go ahead.
So I just want to start off by talking about the definition of a resurgence, because I think that is going to be very important when we talk about this debate. A resurgence is an increase or revival after a period of little activity, popularity, or occurrence. So I'm going with somebody who hasn't had a movie in 9 years at this point, 10 years probably by the time he would actually start his next movie. I'm going with Jack Nicholson, somebody who has shown that he has a tremendous career all the way back until the 60s and 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and then his one movie in 2010. He's shown that he has range in his acting abilities. He can do comedy, he can do crime, he can do drama, he can do action in a sense. So he's shown that he has range. So someone at his old age can handle anything that we're going to throw at him. I have some ideas that I want to talk about, and I have a lot of things that I want to talk about my opponent. So Jack Nicholson, let's bring you back for one, maybe even a couple movies.
Okay, good job, Henry. RJ, time starts when you start talking.
So for this one, it took me a little while to think about it, but then when I really just sat down and started looking at list of people, I think the answer came quite obvious, at least to me, just because I'm seeing someone who I really enjoy as an actor, and I think is literally just about to start their own resurgence, and I think they honestly deserve it, and that's Will Smith. Will Smith, started his movie career very strong. Very strong, actually. He was one of the most sought out actors when he first started. Then he did some movies in between, maybe weren't his best. I always thought he did a great performance, but just the movies he got with did not hit. This coming year, he has 2 movies that I think show both of the sides of his acting, like him coming back, and I think it's really going to show that Will Smith is still here and he's still got it, what everyone loved about him. So I think this is going to be the start of his resurgence this year.
Good. Yeah. Well, you got 5 minutes. Back and forth discussion. Time starts when one of you starts talking.
Take it away, RJ. I'm curious to see what you have to say.
It's what I said. He's got 2 good movies coming out right now. He's about to be in Aladdin. He's going to be the genie, and that Gemini trailer looked amazing. And he's about to be in an action movie. I think they both look great. Like I said, I love Will Smith, even in the movies that people don't like him in. After Earth, his kid was terrible. I thought he was awesome. Winters Winter's Tail? Winter's Tail. Yeah, I always confuse it with Winter's Bone. Winter's Tail, I loved him as the devil. I thought he was great. He only had 2 scenes, and I was still terrified of him as the devil. I think Will Smith has shown that he still got it, whereas Jack Nicholson, there's a reason he hasn't done a movie in 10 years, and that's because he's done. He's done. I'm good. I've been acting for a while. I've got my awards, and I'm good to go. I mean, it's just I think he doesn't need it, so therefore he does not deserve it.
Well, I have a question for you. Why do you think that Will Smith needs a resurgence, quote unquote, instead of just continuing his career as he's going? At what point do you think he had a point in his career where he deserves the term resurgence?
Probably about Winter's Tale's time. I think that was like the early 2010s, and then he hasn't really done a lot of things since. He's been like in a couple of things, but hell, he didn't even want to do Independence Day because he knew like, nah, that would not be a good idea. I'm not going to do that. So but he's got 2 movies coming out in 1 year, which we haven't seen in a while for him, and so I think he's coming back with a vengeance.
So did you forget that he did Suicide Squad, arguably the best part of that movie? Did you forget that he was in Bright? You know, he was the lead star of a movie in Netflix, which arguably, regardless of what you think about the movie, it had ratings. And did you forget that at no point in his career has he really ever dipped? You know, even in the 2010s, you know, I don't know the year right now, but I Am Legend, he was in. That's a movie he was in, like I just said, Suicide Squad and Bright. Movie Concussion, he was nominated for an Oscar just in 2015. So I honestly don't understand where the resurgence is. Whereas Jack Nicholson, he hasn't been in a movie since 2010, and even in his career in the 2000s, before his career teetered off, didn't really even teeter off as far as quality. It was just quantity. He was only in a few movies in the 2000s, but even then, all the movies were either okay or his performance was great. So what I'm talking about with Jack Nicholson, I'm actually going to bring him with a resurgence. And guess what? You may say that he's old, but guess what? Robert Redford is a year older than him, and he just finished his very last movie. Clint Eastwood, 7 years older than him, and he's still in acting movies in The Mule, and he's also directing movies. So it shows that age has nothing to do with it. And like I talked about with his range, he has comedic possibilities, he has dramatic possibilities, he has crime, you know, drug lord, kingpin type of possibilities. There's a lot of things that he can do. He could be a general, as he showed in A Few Good Men. These are all types of genres or possibilities that we can set him up in a script where he can actually handle it with his age. So there's plenty of opportunities for him to work, and he can be a part of a smaller franchise.
Because that's who deserves resurgence. So why doesn't he take it? Because he doesn't need it.
Yeah, the point. Yeah, but for what you think about with Robert Redford, if you look at Robert Redford's career in the 2000s,
Robert Redford, we're talking about Will Smith and Jack Nicholson.
Calm down. It's support. That's the point of debating. You have support. So anyway, if you look at Robert Redford's career up until his last movie in The Old Man and the Gun, most of his movies weren't that good. But guess what? We're looking at his career. We put a stamp on his career because his last movie is a quality movie. The last movie Jack Nicholson did was Life as We Know It, or How Do You Know? Whatever that movie is, no one cares about that movie. So you want to end his career with a nice, beautiful bow, and you want to do exactly what he can do. But because he has the dramatic range, the comedic range, the action range, the crime range, it's not going to be a phone-in role. It's not going to be something that's safe. He can do something that's fantastic, end his career on top, and potentially be nominated for an Oscar in a supporting or a lead role because he still has the talent and he still has the chops to do it. So that's the point of a resurgence.
A resurgence is not just a one-time comeback and then I'm going to go out with an Oscar on top. A resurgence, like you said, is re-establishment in popularity. Will Smith, yes, he's been doing movies, but he's not been as popular as he has been.
He's coming out with Gemini Man. He's coming out as the genie as Aladdin. He's coming out with Bad Boys 3. There's plenty of but you chose something that's already you chose something that's already. You chose an actor.
I just think that
you chose an actor. You chose an actor.
He should have done it already. There's just no he wants to come back for one movie, fine, but that's not a resurgence. That's just coming back to a movie.
What my point was, he could either cap off with one movie and end it on a bow, or he can do multiple movies because he still has the talent and the possibility. Because age is not a factor here. I said anywhere from one. I said anywhere from 1 to 5 movies. My point was, no matter what he does, he's going to do a great job. Whereas Will Smith, he's already doing work. He's been working steady ever since the 2010s. 2015, he was nominated for an Oscar. There's no resurgence in there. The popularity.
And you said resurgence is a regain in popularity.
Yeah, and he was nominated for an Oscar in 2015. He was the best part of the movie in Suicide Squad.
Okay, so we're going to go over to our competitors for closing. RJ, you have a minute on the clock. Go ahead.
Look, Will Smith has been constantly doing movies his whole acting career, yes, but he is not as popular as he used to be. So The resurgence, I think, is he's going to be back really at that A-list star quality, always being asked to be in movies, doing 2-3 movies a year. I think this year in 2019 is going to be his start with Aladdin coming out, and then Gemini. I don't know if it's Gemini Man or Gemini. I apologize, but it's going to come out later, and I think that's really going to start bringing him up. And I'm sorry, Jack Nicholson. I mean, I feel like there's just a reason he hasn't done him anymore. He doesn't want it, and therefore he doesn't deserve it. If he doesn't want it, then he doesn't deserve it. He has his awards. He has his acclamations. Just let him do what he wants to do.
Okay. Henry, take us home.
Okay, so the thing with Will Smith, you said he's at declining popularity, but he was nominated for an Oscar in Concussion 2015, 2016. He was arguably the best part of Suicide Squad, a potential franchise in Deadshot. He was part of Bright, a start of a franchise which made a lot of ratings on Netflix. And then he's also coming back for Bad Boys 3, Gemini Man, and Aladdin. So I don't know where the resurgence part happens. For having a resurgence, you have to at least dip down. Jack Nicholson, he stopped acting. Regardless of the reasons of why he stopped acting, but he still has the chops to do it, and he can still handle it. I'm giving him plenty of opportunities where he can have a resurgence, where he can do multiple movies. Like I said, anywhere from 1 to 5 movies. A resurgence just shows where he's coming back. It doesn't have to be a specific amount of time. 1 to 5 movies. He can do anything. He can be part of a franchise. He can do a type of movie. He can do Liam Neeson type of movies where he's just doing one role for multiple times and it's just his thing. He has the chops and the acting ability to do whatever you want. Will Smith, he's never even declined at any point, so I don't think you understand the concept of a resurgence, but also he doesn't deserve it. Jack Nicholson deserves it because if we want him back.
Okay, good arguments all around. We're going to start off with me this time, and I think I'm going to give the point to Henry here. I think you really hit on the fact that Will Smith still is around, whereas Jack Nicholson hasn't done a movie since 2010 and really hit on the definition of a resurgence. So I am going to give the point to Henry on this one. So, Richard, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. I'm also giving my point to Henry because, Henry brought up the fact that Will Smith is still doing movies. Just because he's not in blockbuster films doesn't mean he's not doing movies. Like Bright is getting a sequel. He was in Suicide Squad. People loved Will Smith in Suicide Squad. Probably one of the 2 best things about that movie. Whereas Jack Nicholson, there are people who want Jack back. Like he hasn't acted in a while, and people love Jack Nicholson. So my point is also going to Henry.
So Henry does get the point, 2-1 right now. And now we're going to get into our speed round. So for the first speed round question, our competitors are going to get 30 seconds for their opening and then 15-second rebuttal / closing. It's basically the same thing. Whoever says their answer first gets to go first. So first up, their first question, and competitors will answer the first. What is the better 2018 comedy, Blockers or Game Night?
Game Night.
Blockers.
Okay, so both competitors picking different answers here. So Henry, you did go first. Those 30 seconds on the clock.
See, the thing with Blockers is it has a lot of shock value and it has a lot of over gratuitous things like the whole beer pong and the butt thing. But at the end of the day, it's more of a coming of age movie than a comedy because the comedy doesn't hold up as well on repeat viewings. Whereas Game Night, there's a lot of jokes that you either didn't catch because there's so many jokes, or just something that you just have to build on once you get well versed with these characters. You have Jason Bateman, you have Rachel McAdams. The chemistry is fantastic. You have all the other side characters where at the point I'm not going to have any of their names right now, but you have everyone where they all have their own scenes. Where in Blockers, the kids they do okay and they do a job. A lot of times it's just saying the F word or saying like sex jokes and all that stuff. At the end, it's kind of cheap. Whereas Game Nights, it's very smart. It's going to hold up. Blockers.
Time.
I thought they were saying 5, not time. My bad.
Okay, RJ, 30 seconds to you.
So I just think Blockers is the better comedy because, like, it may be like a weird coming of age story, but Leslie Mann, Ike Barinholtz, and John Cena had amazing chemistry in there. I think Ike Barinholtz is very underrated. Leslie Mann has proven that she's comedy gold, and John Cena is starting to prove that as well. And I just think I don't agree with Henry. I think repeat viewing Blockers is a very hilarious movie, whereas Game Night, I watched it one time and I was like, okay, I saw this movie that everybody liked, and I didn't care to watch it again. It was all right, and not talking about shock value, but a dude get sucked into a airplane propeller. So I mean, I think that's pretty shock value too for somebody.
Okay, So now go over to Henry. 15-second rebuttal. Time starts now.
So you say the guy getting sucked into the airplane thing, that's one, but in the blockers, you have the butt plugs, you have the butt beer pong thing, you have the naked Marco Polo scene, and you also have the car blowing up. There's a lot of things going in that movie that just that seems out of the element. Whereas Game Night, it's actually an action movie as well as a comedy, and it's also a nice relationship movie. It has all the elements to it that is supported by the laughs.
Okay, RJ, 15 seconds.
Well, actually, shock value is something instantly happening, so that naked Marco Polo doesn't happen because it was a full scene. But honestly, you just said it's an action movie. We're talking about the better comedy, so Blockers is the better comedy. There you go.
Time.
Okay, so I'm going to go over to Malcolm first. Malcolm, who do you think deserves the point on that one?
Yeah, this is tough, but I'm going to give my point to Henry because I think he said more about why the comedy in Game Night is better than the comedy in Blockers and all that. But so yeah, Henry gets the point.
Okay, Richard, over to you.
Yeah, my point is also going to Henry. I didn't get enough information why Game Night was not as good as Blockers. I heard more from RJ about defending Blockers than I did for him attacking Game Night, whereas Henry, he defended his movie, whereas attacked what reasons why Blockers was the weaker film. So my point's also going to Henry.
Yeah, I'm also giving the point to Henry on that one, but it doesn't really matter because at this point we are at 3-1. So Henry does win the match. Very, very good, but good job from both competitors. So I'm going to go over to see how our competitors are feeling. First, our victor of the match, Henry. How are you feeling about this match?
So this is my first debate in a while, so I had to shake off a little of the rust, deciding how I wanted to structure my arguments. I actually wrote notes for this one, so I took RJ very seriously. He's a good debater. He pissed me off a lot, not letting me talk. Didn't give me the respect that I was trying to give him, but maybe that was a tactic, or maybe that's just him. But either way, I had a lot of fun with this debate. The first one being based off a TV show where I'd never even seen the Orville. I'm just happy that my love and passion for Curb Your Enthusiasm really showed up, and I knew. The second debate was going to be a tough one, with, fighting against Endgame, because I had a lot of stuff to knock. But some, just like with the movie Endgame or any superhero movies, the highs definitely overshadow the lows. So that is what it is. And if I would have lost that third one, I would have probably stormed off the country because Will Smith, no resurgence. So you guys did a great job judging. I didn't hate anything that you guys did, which is definitely a good thing. And congratulations to RJ for making me sweat.
Okay, RJ, how are you feeling about this?
I'm fine. Like I said, I keep getting put in these matches because I pull out a win every now and again. I'm pretty sure my record's even now again, which is usually what happens in these leagues. So once again, not bummed out. I don't watch TV, so I didn't feel confident about that one. I don't watch movies that much, so I picked the biggest movie I actually have seen because I don't go to the movies anymore. And I don't know actors, so I didn't know who needed a resurgence. So very ill prepared for this. I don't take notes. I just come in here and talk. So I never really deserve wins. So but I didn't get knocked out, so that's always nice.
Well, it's nice not to be knocked out. So I do want to get quick thoughts from our judges here before we go. Richard, what did you think about this?
Well, it was a good match. Both seemed very passionate. Both really, came out. It was a tough call, but, it was a good match. Like I say.
Definitely. And Malcolm.
Yeah, it was definitely a good match. Like the fight of the night was probably Endgame versus Us is definitely probably one of the best argument tonight. And I do think that both of them do have a shot at possibly getting through there because and I wasn't going to say this during my judging, but when you think about Endgame and compare it to Lord of the Return of the King, like it caps off what they're calling the Infinity Saga, like the Saga of the Infinity Stone. So when you think about it like that, ending the thing, it could potentially be a reason for it to get up there, but who knows? We'll find out next year when they announce the nominations. But yeah, it was a great match.
Thanks for the info, Malcolm.
Yeah, definitely a good match. That was probably one of the more entertaining arguments of that round was us versus Endgame. But without further ado, let's see where we can find all these people if you have anything to plug. So our winner, Henry, where can everybody find you?
Well, at this point, if anybody within these communities don't know me, then that's weird. Should probably get to know me. But obviously, I have Confidential Cinema on the Facebook group and Confidential Cinema on YouTube. I have my own trivia. There will be trivia. Debating hasn't really kicked off, so that's why I decided to come back because I just love debating and have some fun. And then we have the top 5 with Chance Ellison over on Confidential Cinema as well. So we have some stuff for you to watch.
Okay, and our unfortunate second place finisher, RJ.
Yeah, you can find me at Full Metal Media, co-commissioning the Full Metal Geek League. We're in the middle of our road to the title summer series right now, so that's really fun. Other than that, I only have one social media, and that's Facebook. It's Rene Villareal Jr. Do not type in RJ. You will find 78,293 people who are not me.
Okay, Malcolm.
You can find me on Tape 3 Productions hosting Rankum every Sunday night. You can also find me on Full Metal where I host Full Metal Random it's usually every Tuesday night. This week it's on I don't know because this is pre-recorded, but never mind. But you can also find me competing all over the place and Twitter, Letterboxd, and Stardust at Melkor.
Okay, and Richard.
You can find me on Facebook under Richard Schwartz, YouTube and Twitter under External Void, where I do WWE Champions Mobile Gaming, and you can find me walking around LA because I got nothing better else to do.
Okay, and you can find me hosting Multiplex Movie Warzone over on the Multiplex channel, where I don't know when this is going to be uploaded, but we're coming to the end of our teams tournament, and that's going to be very, very, very exciting. Other than that, watch all the great content on both Full Metal, Multiplex, and also Confidential Cinema. So with that, this has been Movie Battleground. I'm Caleb. That's Henry. That's RJ. That's Malcolm. That's Richard.